Hi, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. I am Dana K. White. I am the creator of the No Mess Decluttering Process. I'm the author of Decluttering at the Speed of Life, which has now sold over 500,000 copies, which is wild. But it's exciting that it's out there to so many people who are truly changing their homes. So I am here to answer your decluttering questions. I teach decluttering for a living, not what I expected to do with as my life work, because this is my biggest struggle. This has always been my biggest struggle. My default is extreme messiness. So everything that I teach is comes out of my own experimentation and effort and what I have figured out that actually works decluttering and keeping my home under control. So that's the perspective that I'm coming from. Welcome to any of you who are brand new to me. I have this link underneath me right here, aslobcomesclean.com/take. Aslobcomesclean.com is my website. The /take takes you to the Take Your House Back course, which is on sale right now for $94. We will have an all-day declutter in January, but this is a course that is completely self-paced. The modules exist. The minute that you sign up, you can start going through and learning how to take your house back. I do this course with Dawn from The Minimal Mom and Cass from Clutterbug. They are big YouTubers. And I have been amazed at the impact that this has had on so many people's homes. So I know that we usually have people in the comments. Let me make sure y'all can hear me, because what if you can't, right? Let's see. Good. You can hear me. Thank you. Y'all know that's always my thing I'm worried about. Usually we have people in the comments who will tell you their experience with the Take Your House Back course and how powerful it's been for them. I always like to make sure that I remind you that the value of the course is the course itself. Okay. Meaning what you have access to immediately that you can go through on your own time and learn and implement in your house. The all day declutter is a perk. It's an extra. Okay. And what that is it's a day when Dawn, Cass, and I each take turns doing coaching sessions, not live coaching the way that I do on the 1 Hour Betters here. That's what you get from using one of my decluttering coaches. But where we talk you through working through an area, and there's just an energy and a focus and a time on your schedule to do that. Those are also recorded, so you can watch them anytime if you're not able to be there on the day, or you can watch them again and again and again because they exist in the course. But the course itself, as you head into, I know you're not into it right now, but I mean, you may be, but you will be into decluttering when it gets to be December 26th. That's just kind of a natural thing that happens. And then you'll have this course to go through and really make an impact on your home. So aslobcomesclean.com/take, that's my link. It's also linked in the description of this video. If you've thought about joining, only join it when it's on sale. Now's the time because it's on sale. Okay. I am going to be answering some questions that were asked ahead of time at askdanakWhite.com. And if you are watching this in the future, you can go back and you can go to askdanakWhite.com to ask questions. Those are not answered in real time. Sorry. But yeah, so what I'm going to show you here is an abbreviated version of the question. Then I'm going to read the entire question that was asked because we can only fit so much into this little thing there. Okay. Question. I struggle with paper. I want to keep them all for reference or reading, although history tells me that most of the time I don't go back to them. I also have a hard time throwing cards away, especially from people I love or kids' work and artwork. Some paper I keep for projects that I cannot yet find time for, memory books, for example. I would love some tips. Thank you, Dana. Okay. So, the three questions that I'm going to answer that were asked ahead of time, I'll answer questions from those of you watching live for the last part of the video, are all really going to zero in on reality acceptance. That is ultimately what I teach. In everything that I teach with decluttering, it comes down to the acceptance of reality. The reality of my space, my ability to manage and handle things in my space, because I only was able to get my home under control when I accepted reality about space and what I could handle. When I say accepting reality about space and what I can handle, the two terms that I use a lot are container concept and clutter threshold. Container concept is the first acceptance of reality that you need to make. Okay. Clutter threshold is a little more ambiguous in that it is unique to you and your situation and what you can handle and your personality. And it's very important to accept your clutter threshold, which is the level of stuff that you can personally easily keep under control. But container concept is the first one because it is inarguable. It is not something that it's not ambiguous. It is the physical, actual space. So let's say, how do we apply the container concept in this situation? Because you said, I want to keep them all, but you're also asking a decluttering expert for this. Okay. So which shows me that this is too much. Okay. Like I don't know at what level things are out of control, but it's out of control enough for you to ask me this question. And you say history tells me most of the time I don't go back to them. So what that means is I want to keep them all, but this is not working for me. Keeping them all is not possible for anyone because no one has infinite space. And so keeping every bit of paper that ever comes into your house for whatever reason, it's not realistic, right? Like we can't do that. And this is where it's so important to realize that what I teach is decluttering. I don't teach organizing. You may go out there and you may find someone which there's amazing people, right, who teach organizing. I am not one of them. I don't teach organizing. I teach decluttering. So you might find someone who gives you organizing systems. But what I'm going to say is before you even do that, even if your goal is to come up with some amazing organizing system, the first thing you need to do is declutter anyway. Okay. And I have videos on decluttering paper and, dealing with paper when you're completely overwhelmed. What we're going to zero in on today with this specific question is embracing the container concept. Okay. So I want to keep them all. History tells me I won't. I won't actually look at them. That's the internal struggle where my brain goes, but I want to keep them all, but I'm not actually going to look at them. But I want to keep them all, but I'm not actually going to look at them. And I can end up in this spinning out in my brain on that of trying to convince myself I'm not going to look at them. So I'm not going to keep it. Let's just go with the container concept. Where's the place where you would look for these items? In the actual question, you mentioned something about memory books, throwing cards away. Let's talk about memory book items specifically. Where would you go at some point in the future where you realize, oh, I have a little time. Maybe it, is the day after Thanksgiving when other people are shopping and you're like, I don't do that on that day. And you're kind of having this at home. You're like, this would be a great time to work on a memory book, right? Where would you go to get the stuff that you've saved for a memory book? Where would you look first? I know some of you are thinking, well, there's stuff all over the house because I've just been keeping things. But where would you look first if your house was under control and there wasn't just stuff all over the house? Where's the first place where you would look? Okay. And at this point, you're like, you don't know where to look. We only ask this question when we don't know where things already are. So for me, that is, I have a cabinet in what is, I guess, our home office, where the computer where Reed does video editing and stuff like that. There is a cabinet in there. That's where that kind of stuff is. Pictures, photos, that sort of stuff, yearbooks. Go to this space, whatever it is for you. Now, when I moved into this house, I didn't have a place like that. I had to literally go, where would I look first? There. I think I would look there. So I made that the home. Then let that size of that space determine how much of this stuff you can keep. So it's not an all or nothing. It does not have to be all or nothing. It is, this is the space that I have for things I want to use for memory books in the future. It might be for things for reference or reading. What's the place that I have, the spot that I have, and let the size of that spot determine how much you can keep. So if we're talking about memory book stuff, then you look through the things that you have, you go take them there with this understanding in your brain that if my house is going to be under control, I have to accept the reality of my spaces. And this is the space that I have to devote for things I might put in a memory book someday. And that will determine which things deserve space there. And it will help you go, oh, okay, this is the best picture of that birthday party. This is the one that would actually go into an album someday if I ever did it. And then it naturally sorts out, wait, I don't even remember who this kid was that was at the party. I can get rid of that. It just naturally sorts that out. Same thing with reference or reading. Let's say it's a spot on your shelf where you have a paper-sized container or whatever. And this is what I'm going to do for reference or reading. As you come across something that is for, I might want to read this someday, you go ahead and take it to that spot and you see, oh, okay, well, I can't keep everything. Therefore, is it important enough for me to give it space? And it just naturally sorts things out. So really zeroing in onto the container concept, which I've talked endlessly about in other videos, right? And it's in the books and all that. That is the way to deal with this thing where you're like, I want to keep it all. Keeping it all is not working because my house is out of control. So let the container decide, and it will actually make this easier. So it doesn't have to be, but I never look at it, so I shouldn't get rid of it, because that's the thing that will stop people like me in our tracks. Is I'm like, realistically, I probably won't look at it. And yet that is not enough for me to be able to just get rid of all of it. And so how do I actually make this work? I embrace the container concept. Okay. Next question. I will read the full question. This is the abbreviated version there that you're seeing. I live in a tiny house, 374 square feet, 4 rooms. Just to be clear, in case you were outside the US, square feet is so much smaller than square meters. Okay. So if you're thinking 374 square meters, because I know we hear things the way that, we're used to. That's very, very small, 374 square feet. How do you handle keep boxes when you have absolutely nowhere to put one more thing? Getting rid of most of it isn't my solution. She's saying that. Okay. I already have 2 jam-packed storage units from when I cleaned out my deceased parents' house that I will be applying your decluttering and container methods to in the spring. Hopefully I can get rid of the majority of that, as it has been nearly 4 years. It gets expensive. Okay. Again, like I said, our focus today is reality acceptance. A tiny house with 374 square feet. That is your reality. And so getting rid of most of it isn't my solution. Okay, I think we're focusing too far in the future when you're thinking, kind of like we were talking about in the last question. If the answer is get rid of most of it, people like us are like, don't tell me that. Okay, that's why I don't say that. Instead, I say, look through it, go with the trash. I will say I don't do keep boxes. How do I handle keep boxes? I handle keep boxes by not having keep boxes. Meaning, when you generally hear decluttering advice, people will say, put it in a box for keep, sell, donate, whatever. There is no purpose in a keep box. I mean, like, there just isn't. It's just a thing. Now, having an actual place where something goes, and maybe that's a box, okay, if that's where I'm actually going to look for this item first. But just to arbitrarily have a box of stuff I want to keep, I can't do that. that is a recipe for disaster for me. And so just if you're thinking of it in the way that people traditionally think of a keep box of, oh, I'm going to sort out the stuff in my house and put the things I want to keep in this box. So eliminate keep boxes from the process and instead go with, where would I look for it first in my actual house that actually only has 374 square feet? So in these 4 rooms that you say you have in the 3, so maybe one of those is the bathroom and one of those is the bedroom and one of those is, I don't know how it works exactly, right? But this is the space that you have. So take keep box out of it, and instead of just saying I want to keep it, use the process. Pick up the item, and we're not going to ask if you want to keep it. That's actually irrelevant. Instead, it's, if I needed this cup, where would I look for it first? Not, do I want to keep it? Where would I look for it first? Okay. This is how I'm going to determine where within the 374 square feet it goes, because that's the place, that's where you have to put things. Wishing that you had more space, which I don't even know that you wish that you had more space. Maybe you enjoy exactly the situation and you went into this, but the way to make it work is to accept the reality of it. So within the space that I actually have, where would I look for this first? And then I go take it there now. So like I got this at a conference where that I spoke at. Maybe you are like, oh, this has so many memories, right? Like, oh, wow. I love this and it's so great. That's irrelevant, but where would I look for it first is relevant. Okay, well, I would look first for it in my kitchen cabinet where I keep, insulated coffee things. Okay. And so I take it there now and I face the reality of that. And I say, okay, there is no room for it there. That doesn't mean I can't keep it. It just means that if I'm going to keep it, I have to determine what deserves space less than this highly sentimental item from, an experience that I had at some point. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to get rid of this generic one in order to keep this one that means something more to me. Or I'm going to say, this meant a lot to me, but I really like that one that I know for a fact is my absolute favorite insulated coffee mug. And so then I decide, oh, this doesn't have space. There is no space for it. Therefore, it has to go. So it's not just a get rid of most of it. That's not what we're saying. We're going item by item and saying, where would I look for this first? And does it deserve space there enough to get rid of something else? Because that's the only way I'm going to make it work to live within the actual situation that I'm in, which is the 374 square feet. Item by item. It's so hard in the beginning. You will resist take it there now, but that's the key. And it gets easier and easier, which I had a video recently where I talk about how it gets easier and why it speeds up and all that. All right, next. Again, today's theme is reality acceptance. All right. I have some old photos of people I have not met, but I know who they are. Example, my mom's grandfather standing with her dad. I have a few old pics. I know my son will not want it, but I feel like I need to do something with it. It's history of our lineage. I think the perfect solution would be if there was a universal place for family tree where you can add stories to pics without a membership. Please advise what to do with old pics. Thank you so much. Love listening to your ideas and your books. Okay. Here's what I want to focus on. I think this is her talking. Okay, this is not me. I think the perfect solution would be if there was a universal place for family tree where you can add stories to pics without a membership. That's a great idea. Are you going to invent that? That's the reality acceptance here. Those of us who struggle with clutter are highly creative. We have amazing ideas. You have what you believe would be the perfect solution. Maybe this does exist. I don't know. Y'all know I'm not like the expert on knowing all the different cool things that exist. Maybe it exists. Search for it. See if it exists. If it doesn't, which I'm guessing as a business person, I'm guessing that the whole without a membership thing, which is what you want, and I totally get it. But as a business person, like if somebody was to create this item, they would have to have a membership model, both in order to make it a business, which is the reason that they're doing it, because they need to, you know, why would they do it without making money from it? Right. Like it's just the reality of it. If this is going to be their job, they need to be able to support their family and live in a house and all that. And also privacy, legal reasons, all that kind of stuff. I mean, like there's, maybe it exists, but we have to face the reality of, I have a really cool idea. If you have a cool idea, feel free to invent it. Go for it. But we have to live in reality. Are you going to invent this? Because I get the vibe that that's not necessarily, you just wish this thing exists. I wish there was a way to do this. So you either find that way that exists, or you invent that way that exists, or you go with the reality that actually does exist. I'm going to recommend that you go with the reality that actually does exist, because that's the only one that actually allows you to have a house that's under control. So please advise what to do with old pics, the container concept. Where would you look for them first? And you take it to that space. And when you look at the reality of the space, then you go, the person who I know and the history that I do understand, and my own children, that their baby pictures, those deserve space more than the thing that I can't identify. Now, you did say, like, this was your grandfather. There's absolutely value in keeping that, but you can't keep everything. And so you let the space determine that. And you say, I want to keep this picture of my maternal grandfather. And maybe that means that out of these 5 equally adorable pictures of my daughter, I pick my favorite. They're all equally adorable because she was adorable, right? And still is. I'm going to pick my favorite 4 so that this grandfather picture that's so important to me stays. So it's not just this arbitrary, are old pics good? That's never the question that we're asking. Is it good to keep historical pictures of the family? Of course it's good, but not at the expense of being able to manage my home, right? And so it's the reality acceptance. And I think that the reason I really wanted to focus on this question is, this is the way our brains think. This would be a great solution, blah, blah, blah. But if I don't have the capacity, the money, the time, the expertise to be able to create that actual solution, for me to just go, it would be great if I could do this. That's not living in reality. I have to live in reality and not just say, well, if this thing exists, then everything would be easy. First of all, it wouldn't actually be easy, because there would be some other unknown challenge along the way. Okay. I feel like I've been very preachy this morning. Sorry about that. Okay. I am going to take some questions from those of you who are watching live. If you have asked your question, I'll try to go back up to the beginning. It's fine to re-ask a question. Try not to like just re-ask it and re-ask it and re-ask it, because then that gets like confusing too. But put 3 question marks or some question marks at the beginning of your question, because then as it scrolls by, I'm more likely to be able to notice that you asked a question. I did want to make sure to remind you that the Take Your House Back course, which people love and have totally transformed their homes by going through the content that's in the course, which you have access to the minute that you join it. It is not the live events. The live events are peripheral. Okay. They are bonuses. The actual meat of the course you can go through on your own at your own pace when you join. aslobcomesclean.com/take. That is my link to join. Well, it's on sale right now. Okay, let me go back and look at questions. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, this one doesn't have questions, but I did catch it. How to declutter while grieving. I am sorry for your loss and what you're going through right now. I will tell you that the advice that I've heard many, many times over the years is to like give yourself some time. Don't feel like it's often advised when someone loses a spouse to give themselves a year before they make huge decisions. Okay. And I know that sometimes it's this, okay, but I'm in this awful, awful moment and it feels like I just got to do this thing right now. It's okay to wait, right? Like it's okay. That's actually something that is given as advice for people going through grief. But if you feel like I am ready, what I advise is that you follow my no mess process. Okay. So aslobcomesclean.com/5, FIVE. It's also linked in the description here. Go through the process and just do what you can do. Because remember that my 5-step process it allows you to feel emotions, but it does not use those emotions to make decluttering decisions, okay? Which is what you need in this time of grieving. So when you start with the trash, remember that we are only talking about the trash that is already obvious to you at this moment in time in this stage of your grief process. So we are not talking about it's time for you to decide that this highly sentimental item is trash. That's not what we're saying. I'm saying give yourself permission to just start with the things that aren't emotional to you at this time. Start with the actual trash, like the obvious trash. Go through the process. And at any point when you just are feeling completely stuck, skip it. And don't let one item derail you. And so going ahead and giving yourself permission to deal with the non-emotional stuff, the easy stuff is key if you are wanting to declutter and you are going through the grieving process. Let's see. How do you get motivation when you're overwhelmed? Start with the trash. Okay, because trash is not overwhelming. If it is overwhelming, that's not what we're talking about because we're talking about obvious trash. So start with the non-overwhelming stuff. Know that there is real decluttering progress that happens when you throw away trash. There is absolute value in using your decluttering energy to deal with something as boring and mundane and bleh as trash. Okay, and the best way to get motivation is to do the smallest thing that you can do completely that moves you forward on the overall daunting and overwhelming goal. Okay. So that smallest thing that you can do completely that has to be done anyway if you're ever to achieve your overall goal. In decluttering, what that looks like is this room is a mess. This place is a mess. This whole area, space, pile, whatever is a disaster. It's overwhelming to me. What is the smallest thing that I can do? The smallest thing you can do is take that obvious trash and put it in the trash bag. Okay. And then every little bit that you do gets you going. All right. Let's see. When did you decide on the titles for your books? Did your editor suggest them? Did you get the title first and the book evolve after? Do you oscillate between title choices? What's the title's impact on book? I love talking books. So the general thing that is said to authors is don't get too attached to your titles because the author does not get to come up with the title. Like, it's generally something that the publisher's team works on, both with the salespeople and all that. With that said, I've titled all my own books. So I'm going to say I'm pretty good at it. No, I think here's what I honestly think happens. I get my title first. That is my title is the thing that comes into, like, downloads into my brain, and then the book flows out of that. And because of that, my titles, which are long, yes, they are long, is kind of like a thesis statement for my book. And then therefore I build the whole book around that thesis statement. And therefore I usually end up getting my way with my title. Yeah. So yes, that is how it works for me. In general, the rule is that authors don't have the final say on the titles, but all of mine have been my idea. Okay. I am from Italy. When you publish your book here too, please, send me an email. I'll forward it to my publisher. Here's how it works this is publishing 101 today, I guess. Or probably 201, because these are things I didn't know at all before I got started. So the way it works is, because my books are traditionally published, which means, like HarperCollins is the publisher, which there are a lot of different houses under that. Okay. Like book publishing arms, whatever. I don't know which words I'm using correctly, but the way translations work is that an Italian publisher, like a publisher who publishes in the Italian language, would purchase the rights to do that, would purchase the rights to publish my books from my publisher. So it's arranged there. I actually am not in that loop at all, because I would say German and Spanish, I get requests for all the time, and I send those to the publisher, but I don't actually. So if you know somebody who's a book publisher in your country, that's the best way. Like, it's for us to connect the publisher with the publisher, because that's how that works. So it's tough, because I wish I could just be like, oh, let's do this. Let's see. What do you recommend for someone who's actively losing weight but attached to their old clothing? Not a lot of extra space to store, buying clothes as I go, but also trying to limit. Yeah, not a lot of extra space to store. That's the key right there. What space do you have to store? Is it one bin? Is it a section of your closet? Is it one drawer? Whatever space that you do have, that determines what clothes you can keep that are not for the size that you currently are right now, because the size you currently are right now is the one that deserves the space. But it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to be, oh, get rid of it because blah, blah, blah. There are a lot of emotions and a lot of mental health things often wrapped up in this, and weight loss and all that. So instead of saying all or nothing, say, okay, what is the space that I can devote to things that don't actually fit right now? And then I let that space decide, which means my favorite things, like maybe it's the coziest sweater that I spent a lot of money on, and now I'm in this weird place of like, oh, but it doesn't fit anymore, but I love that sweater and blah, blah, blah. And if it ever, and I hate to not have, okay, then that deserves space in there, but not everything can stay. And that's a small, limited space. So really embrace that not a lot of extra space to store. Okay, well then what space do you have to store? And that determines what can stay. And the best, most important things, which then will often help you. It's not that it's not going to be hard, but you are going to go, this is the space. This is the space. I don't have room for this and this. And I love both of them, but the space will not fit them both. So I'm going to keep this one, and I'm going to let this one go. But it's the space making that decision, not me just going arbitrarily, these things need to go. Can you talk about the container concept as it applies to food in the fridge? I have the habit of buying more than we need, more than what fits. Advice for when I can't see the space I'm filling. Um, if you're talking about like at the store, one good thing to do would be to snap a picture of the inside of your fridge before you go to the store. Just to, that's the same thing I advise when you're going to like clean out a loved one's home after they've passed away. Take pictures of your actual house before you go so that you are able to go, oh, that's right. The space where I'm imagining putting it, yeah, it's full, whatever. So like that would be helpful there. The other thing I would say is go through the pain of, let's say you buy sour cream. Like I know there's different, okay, I'll talk about potatoes, instant mashed potatoes. My husband and I have a long running joke that we pretend is an argument, but anyway, about I tend to buy a box of instant mashed potatoes every time I shop. Like it just is a thing I like to have on hand. And with that, obviously it doesn't go bad, right? But for you, maybe there's like, maybe it's sour cream or Greek yogurt, and you just you buy Greek yogurt every single time you come to the store. And then you get home and you realize, oh, I already had 3 large containers of Greek yogurt. Now I've got another one and there's not enough room for it. Go through the pain of saying, okay, all of these are perfectly good, but which one expires the soonest? I'm going to have to throw it away, even though it's perfectly good, or I'm going to have to eat more Greek yogurt than I want to eat right now to use it up in order to make the space for this one that I just bought. So go through that pain of throwing perfectly good yogurt in the trash, or eating Greek yogurt when I'm not in the mood for it and eating way more than I, would want to, or this is what we're going to have for every dinner. I mean, like, go through that pain, and then that will change the way you shop in the future. There is value in the wasting of it in that one moment and doing something that you don't want to do, because next time you go to reach for Greek yogurt, you're going to go, wait a minute. And it's going to naturally cause you to have that second thought instead of just the automatic buying of that. Do you change homes for things if you end up finding the first place you look is different than you originally thought? Yes, I do. Like if I look for something and it's not there and then it's in the second place, I will often go move it to the first place where I looked for it, because I'm like, well, now I know. We don't usually use the big ironing board my husband wants to keep. We don't look for it, but he thinks we can't. I'm thinking you meant can't not own one. He placed it in his office that is already cluttered. Help. Yeah, I mean, it's not worth the relationship. If this is really important to him, great. What I would say is don't let this hang you up. Keep on decluttering, because what usually changes someone else's mind, which is not guaranteed, right? But so it's happened to me. It's happened to so many people here today who will tell these same stories. Keep going and experiencing the things that he's like, yeah, you can get rid of that, right? Like, okay, I don't know, but yeah, keep going. And the more you get rid of something and then realize you're fine after, the more you live in a space that is easier to manage, like, and easier to live in and function in, then it changes the perspective on items like this. Although I will say, I don't iron a lot, but I get it. Like I get I get it. Like I can't imagine not having an ironing board. And everybody can have their own opinions and blah, blah, blah. Okay. I just can't. And so I do get what he's saying. And so don't let this be the thing that derails anything. Go ahead and keep going and just hold your tongue and go, he's not ready to get rid of that yet. If there might be another option. I know for me, I haven't, no, I don't have it anymore. I had an ironing board that was huge and bulky and hard to manage. And I got one of the ones that attaches to a door, and I do use it, but not very often, but it also doesn't take up much space. So that could be an option if it's not like a specific ironing board that he has a specific attachment to. Maybe it's this, hey, can we replace it with one that doesn't, take up a bunch of space? All right. Listening to the book, How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind, and it's clicking. Yay, I'm so excited to hear that. I've got 3 kids, ages 7, 3, and 1. Any advice on how to make it easier to keep the family van from getting cluttered? Seems like every week I'm having to remove a mountain of trash and junk. I don't give advice on vehicles because I'm not good at that. I don't at all. I will tell you that I've had a lot of people who follow me who are like, hey, I apply your same principles to my vehicle and it actually works. And I'm like, I should do that, but I don't. Yeah, I mean, 5-minute pickups, focused 5-minute pickups, focused, once a day or even every other day or something. When you think of it, let's all pick up an armful of trash as we get out of the car, that kind of thing, is going to be the best way. But again, I don't actually do that. Okay. Somebody did the math for us. Thank you. Thank you, Minimalist Madonna. 374 square feet equals 34.746 square meters. Okay. Because we talked about that at the beginning. Because I know I've told y'all that story, right? About that. I talked about a house our first house that we bought that was 1,700 square feet. And I had a review. I think it's on Amazon. I'm not sure, but it might be on Goodreads, of somebody saying how ridiculous it was that I couldn't fit my stuff in a 1,700 square meter house, which is like, I think 18,000 square feet or something. It's whatever it was equivalent. I looked it up. I just did a quick Google search and it was like Tom Brady. That was the size of his mansion, was what they were envisioning when they heard 1,700 square feet. So I always try to be clear on that because it can be very confusing. Let's see. Been working hard couple days, and best way to accept how much I need to get rid of. So hard, reality of the container. Ease my pain. It is the reality of the container. Keep going. But also, if you are just getting started, go hard on the trash, the easy stuff, and the obvious donations. And because those things are what is already obvious to you. But for some reason, it is so normal for our brains to fixate on the really hard stuff and ignore the stuff that actually would be a lot easier. Okay. How do the decluttering questions work with clothing? I have too many shirts, but to get rid of some, I feel like I need to take out a lot of them and pick my favorites and rank them. Is that okay? You can do whatever you want, like whatever works for you. I personally do not ever pull everything out because it just never goes well. I always think this time will be different, and then it's not. I do have a video on using the No Mess decluttering process on clothing. So, anytime you want to search something like that on YouTube, just put in like whatever it is you're wanting to decluttering clothing, Dana K. White, always put the K in there. And generally it will do pretty good at bringing up those things. It's really using the same process. Trash. Is there anything in here without pulling everything out that actually needs to go in the trash? Oh yeah, this has a stain on it. Oh, this is ripped, whatever. Get those things out, because everything that leaves makes it a little bit less overwhelming and you're able to see and deal with things more. And then going through the process like that. Okay. I am not doing daily 5-minute pickups. I've been waiting until it piles up to do an hour pickup. Seems like 5 minutes doesn't matter. 5 minutes does matter. I would just encourage you to experiment with it. Go into it with a non-committal experimentation mindset and see. It seems like 5 minutes doesn't matter. Take a picture, do 5 minutes, and see. Here's the problem with waiting until it piles up to an hour pickup. I had no concept of the impact of certain amounts of time or how long things would take. So for me to wait until it's an hour pickup just means putting it off and just means procrastinating. That's all it meant for me. And so this whole estimating how much of an impact, because what I can tell is that you haven't been doing the 5-minute pickups, and so you don't know the impacts that they have, which then means you probably don't actually have a real concept of an hour's worth of pickup. So what I would say is experiment with it. Take those pictures, take a picture after 5 minutes and see the impact. Does it make a difference or not? Just a reminder, a slobcomesclean.com/take. Take your house back is ridiculously expensive, except when it's on sale, and it's on sale right now. So go and grab it so that you'll have it when decluttering season hits. All right. You're having such great conversation among yourselves. Can I suggest to upload the pics to a shared Instagram family account? Everyone know the password for it, and everyone enjoys the family history of the pics without the clutter. I think that's a great idea. Or a Facebook group would work as well. That's great. Let's see. We have been decluttering for years and feel like we should be at the organized stage. However, my kids keep pulling organized non-toys out of storage to play with. Do I keep decluttering? So frustrated. Yeah, I always keep decluttering. Just keep decluttering. Just keep doing it. And declutter meaning get it actually out of the house. I personally, I don't really organize. I just declutter. I just keep going and I'm like, oh, it's starting to get, I'll just get rid of some more stuff. Like decluttering is the solution. It is not just a thing to do until you organize. It actually is possible to just keep decluttering until you only have what functions well for you, which is the goal of being organized, right? Am I live? Oh, wow. I'm live again. Okay. Sorry. My power just went out. And so now I am outside. But so I'm going to stop the video. That's why I came back in on my phone because I was like, I hope it doesn't just keep going, but I guess it does. All right. So I will have to stop because my power's out. I don't, random. Anyway, I will, I should be back next week. So uh, don't forget, slobcomesclean.com/take. Join the Take Your House Back. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry for technical difficulties. And now I know that it keeps staying live, even if I'm not on it anymore, which is kind of weird. All right, bye, y'all.